Chiefs pass catchers are off to a hot start, and that includes Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and a UDFA that some of us have been telling you about today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. We appreciate you. And you everydayers that are here all the time with us, we very much appreciate it. We do it for you. And we can't thank you enough. I know a lot of you are over on the text line. You can get that and be an everydayer with the locos as well at 816-357-8781. You can like and sub and do the things on YouTube to make sure that you're always with us as we go through training camp and break news and cover it front to end. You can also get on the audio platforms and everywhere else. We very much appreciate it. We've been doing this a very, very long time. Chris and I have been covering this team. It's our 9th season on Locked On. Worked together before that, and we're going to continue it. If you don't know our perspectives yet, come from the coaching side. Chris comes from the analysis side. You can get his work over at KC Chiefs Corner on quarterbacks, on stats, on the cap, the things that I do not cover as well. You can find me at NFL33.com and RGRfootball.com. We appreciate you being with us. Today, second day of camp, themes are starting to change a little bit. We're starting to see a little bit more of what we are hoping to see in terms of the offense. We're going to talk a lot of offense today. Who could be the X factor out of this backfield? That's coming up later in the show. Before that, the tight end roles, where are they? What's real and what's a maybe? We're going to get to that coming up next. But the Chiefs wide receivers, they're out here and they're for real. And it's not just Rashee Rice. A lot of contributions from that position group. Hollywood Brown had a nice deep play today. Xavier Worthy's had a couple of nice days. Even a guy that we've talked about and we're both pretty excited about, and Tyquan Thornton starting to make a little bit of noise and make his push for the roster. What surprised you the most?
You mentioned it right there. Tyquan Thornton getting run with Mahomes. And I know it's not full team. It's not, any of that. And I get that. And they're not in pads yet. And we'll see how that goes. But to me, to have him getting some reps in that type of scenario means that he is somebody that they are looking at and thinking that he has a legitimate chance at pushing for this roster. They like what they see from him. And quite frankly, you look at him being here last year for just even a little bit of a time, I think actually helped put him in a little bit of an advantage because he started to get an idea of what the offense was about. He got, some familiarity with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the coaching staff. So I think that helped as well. And I really am excited to see what he's able to do when the pads come on, because that's really what's going to be the differentiator. It doesn't really matter specifically at that position. It doesn't matter as much when you don't have the pads on, because then you're just in shorts and you're running against air for the most part, because DBs may be touching you a little bit. Great example of that, Xavier Worthy had a pass caught down the sideline against, was it Watson maybe? And
I believe so.
He went to the ground. But I mean, it's not like he was getting hit. It was incidental contact. That's what's going to happen on the football field. But that's still not the same type of coverage you're going to see. That's not the same type of defense you're going to see. There's going to be a lot that's going to change once the pads come on. Can Tyquan Thornton continue to show up and continue to make plays? Because that is his chance at making this roster.
Yeah. I like his body type in that role. I agree with you. The physicality portion of it that will come later in camp, I think, is going to be important. We've seen some receivers in past years kind of explode early and not be able to sustain that because of what I think the physical rigors are, and as the defense generally catches up.
Well, they have another one on there right now, Nico Remigio, to an extent.
Yep.
He shows up early. He shows up in OTAs. He's doing everything they want him to do. And then when the pads come on, he isn't able to do the same thing. And that is what has caused him to not really have a guaranteed spot on the roster, because otherwise I think he'd have a guaranteed spot on the roster because would be the returner.
Yeah. I will say this, though, for Nico in particular, he had a nice catch yesterday, as we recall. I do think we're still seeing progression from him. We've seen other guys explode early in camp, and Justin Ross, for instance, has had some really good days in camps, but hasn't been able to sustain enough. And now he's not on this roster. because that's what Tyquan Thornton brings is we're taking leaps above what we've had in the past.
And I'm actually kind of happy that Justin Ross isn't on the roster, and not necessarily because it's not that I don't like Ross. It's more of, it just felt like he would do one or two things a week that would show up, and everybody would get excited about Justin Ross is going to have this huge impact on the roster, and it never translated. He wasn't able to get on the field on a regular basis. He wasn't able to be a guy that was going to contribute to this offense. And the biggest reality is he wasn't. I think he didn't know the playbook or wasn't in the right place at the right time too many times. And when you are in this type of offense with as much as Andy Reid throws at you, you can't have guys, no matter how talented they are, that don't understand where they're supposed to be and aren't where they're supposed to be on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's a tighter ship. We've had a couple of years where they've been trying to find their way with this position group or these position groups, the pass catchers for Patrick Mahomes. But it is clear in the definition that everything that they're saying and what I'm seeing on the field is that they are trying to push this group of pass catchers back up to the top. And you have to be able to be where the quarterback expects you to be when he expects you to be there, despite everything, whether it's press coverage, whether it's a strange look in the zone. You have to be able to adapt and understand how he's adapting. That does take time. But for these guys in particular, like you said, with Thornton having been here around some last year, Ramihi going into a third year here, I do think that gives both of them a little bit of a step up, especially knowing that there's going to be a Rice suspension coming at some point. So you need to have at least those two guys in the crosshairs for trying to push for the roster.
Yeah, and that actually, it's a great point, because when you start looking at the roster and who's going to make it, I do think that we're now talking about a Rice suspension starting, and if it's going to start, it's most likely going to be something I would think is going to start at the beginning of the season. So you're probably talking about needing to figure out who your top 7, who your top 8 wide receivers, and figuring it out from there, because you're going to more than likely keep 7. Technically, Rice won't count on the 53, but he'll still be on your roster.
Right. And I think we saw that early because they peppered him with the most targets. And I think that's, in a flurry to try to get him established early in camp, knowing that you're going to miss some time later. And I think it's also to set kind of the bar for everyone else who isn't Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, because they know where the bar's at already. But everybody else kind of pulling up to that level. I think that's goal setting here is what we're seeing early in camp.
Well, and I think it's a great thing that they're, working and Worthy seems to be getting deep balls thrown to him already. I think that's an improvement over what we saw last year. There were a couple last year from Patrick Mahomes, but it seems like the frequency at this point is way past where we saw at this point last year. Obviously, he's been in the system for a lot longer, so that is going to benefit him. But the reality is that if Mahomes is willing to trust the guy and give him the opportunity, he's going to be defenses deep this year, and it's going to pay off for Kansas City. And I'm excited. We talk about the wide receivers. We're going to talk about the tight ends in a minute. But I really do think that this wide receiver group is going to start pulling along the tight end group to an extent because of the depth that they're able to take on some of their routes and the different combinations that they're going to be able to run with the speed that they're going to have on this offense, especially if you bring in a guy or you keep a guy like Tyquan Thornton. Then you have Thornton, you have Worthy, you have Brown, all of which are burners.
Yep.
That you can just continuously run burners trying to take the top off of defense the entire game and still have somebody probably fresh in the fourth quarter to try it again.
Yeah,
that's huge.
It takes entire position room to do it, right? And I like what you said about the tenants because it does open them up. One guy in particular is making a run to be included early. Jay Briningstool is for real, and he's pushing right now to be your tight end 3. What's it look like next?
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I've used Monarch Money for at least 7 or 8 months now, I think, and I've loved it. It is awesome to be able to have everything at your fingertips. You see and it budgets out your money. It shows you what you're spending your money on. It shows you your income in, your income out. It is a fantastic app. You need to go give Monarch Money a try. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
You've probably heard of Viagra, Cialis, and maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet, ready right now. It's the next generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain, boost the blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that take hours, Rugiet is 3-in-1 formula that dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast on average in just 15 minutes. Head over to rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please view the Rugiet website for full safety information. Now, I'm very excited about what could be coming here to the tight end role to go along with all those pass catchers we talked about in the wide receiver group. If you want more on it, make sure you go to KC Chiefs Corner, to NFL 33, and to RGR Football. We're going to run it all down here through training camp. Today, second day of practice, saw Jay Briningstool kind of step out, was on the field with the ones for quite a bit of time, a number of reps, caught a touchdown for Mahomes today. What was a pretty nice little play, and really showed off, in my opinion, what is his sell. He's trying to sell himself as the athletic guy that can support Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, and I think he's making a hell of a run at it right now.
Boy, tell me how you really feel about Briningstool.
I don't know.
You know, I was not expecting to go this direction with this topic, but I will say that to me, while I am excited about what I've heard about Briningstool and what he's doing at camp, the exciting thing for me is just to have Jared Wiley back on the field. And it's exciting because I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be something that was going to happen until October, maybe even later in the season. He was going to start on the pup. He was going to come back later in the season. And then basically you lose him. You don't technically lose him, but you kind of lose him for the rest of another year because he's so far behind trying to come back. But he's practicing. And to me, him practicing and going out there and taking regular reps and doing things like he's not limited at all. And that's the report that we're getting out of camp, is that all these players that are practicing that aren't on the pup list, the only three on the pup list are Jawan Taylor, Trey Watson, and Christian Fulton. Those are the only three that aren't practicing in full. Wiley practicing in full at this point is way ahead of schedule as to where I thought he was going to be. Andy Reid said he did a great job rehabbing and getting ready. And I think it's very important for him to have a full camp, to have a chance to make an impact on this roster. Because one of the things we talked about when we talked about the tight end room was the thought that he wouldn't be available. And you're talking 3 tight ends and Briningstool was going to be your third. I don't know how they're going to do it now. If he's available, I'm not saying that Briningstool shouldn't be on the roster, but then you're talking about trying to keep 4 because you're not cutting Wiley. You drafted him in the 3rd round last year. Even if he's not going to be 100% this year, which I don't expect he will be, I think that he will look a lot better in 2026 than he does in 2025 just because of his injury. It's still one of those things where you start talking about this tight end room and it's changing, and they're getting young depth and they absolutely need it. I'm not going to say that they have something to replace Travis Kelce. Obviously, I don't think that that's the case, and that's fair to even talk about. But having the young depth, having young guys that can step in and contribute is absolutely what they need. And they have another guy in Noah Gray who can also help those young guys get ready for the season.
Yeah, I agree. And I know some of you are asking, Jared Wiley was a 4th round selection. That's true. Noah Gray was a 5th. Travis Kelce was a 3rd round pick. So don't put too much into who went undrafted and who was selected where. I think as we ended OTAs with both Briningstool and Wiley not practicing, I think a lot of discussion turned towards Robert Tonyan, the veteran, and a lot of people have been pushing for him to be here, maybe tight end 3. I think it's a 3-man race for 2 spots. I do think there are 4 tight ends that end up on this roster because, as you said, you've made investment in all of them in some way or another. But I do think right now I'm leaning towards the youth.
So you think that it's going to be Kelsey, Gray, Wiley, and Briningstool. You think they're going to keep 4?
I do.
Yeah. I can't say I disagree with you on that. I think that Tanyan, if somebody else doesn't pick him up, Kansas City will bring him back, and he will be their first player, one of their first players that they'll bring up for, game day if they need a tight end. And I do think that that's a definite possibility as a practice squad guy. So that would not shock me at all. But I agree. I think that it's got to be those 4. Unless you have a setback of injury on Wiley, then I think then it changes the math a little bit. But at the same time, with what you're seeing right now, if Wiley can start getting back to what he looked like, even 60% of what he looked like last year, you've got to have him on the active roster, and you've got to let him play because he needs the experience, let alone just time in the playbook and time on the field with Mahomes and time with Travis Kelce, seeing the same thing on the field, seeing it together.
Yeah, I mean, that factor can't go like under noticed. Just what this whole year has to be about is a knowledge transfer from Travis Kelce to these other tight ends. Now, Noah's picked up a lot of it because he's been here for so long, but these 2 young guys in particular have got to soak up every moment, every thought that Travis Kelce can give them. And it is different when you're on the sidelines suited up, or you're coming in and out of the game together to see similar things from a defense. So I agree with you. There is no more important role than getting every ounce of knowledge you can out of Travis Kelce, and that helps you impact the game. But that's not all that we have right here. There's always an X factor that's going to go in it. Everyone is picking Brashard Smith to be that out of the backfield. What will that look like is still up in the air, but he will have an impact. We'll get to him now.
This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions that we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing in a Yahoo Fantasy League, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making this your millionth league. I understand how that goes, and I have a ton of fantasy leagues that I am in as well. Absolutely love Yahoo Fantasy Football. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. It all begins August 4th. Stay tuned to get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet.
Now, few things are going to excite you as much as some new unexpected player making an impact on the game. And I can't say that I would argue with that. I think that's what we've seen over the years is young guys coming in, being able to do that. You can't count on it, but when it happens, it definitely changes the projection, and for the rest of the league, the fear factor of playing this particular offense. And we are focused on the offense. Big play out at camp. Brashard Smith takes what is a little swing pass, and because of his physical characteristics, his athleticism, which he was one of the top athletic matrix performers this year, was able to take it to the house. Now, this was not team drill where you had high safeties that are ready to come bearing down on you on the sideline, but it gave you a glimpse of what he could be as the icing on top of the cake, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, and I know it's small and a lot of people aren't going to pay attention to it, but the other thing, Patrick Mahomes ran over and congratulated him afterwards. And that seems like a small thing, but that also means that Mahomes is taking notice of what Brashard Smith is doing, his ability on the field, and making sure. And who knows what he said to him? I'm not going to even try to guess as to what he was telling him. Maybe it's just good job. But the point is that he is making sure to notice and making sure that he is showing Brashard Smith that he's noticing what he's doing on the field. And even if it's just good job, that still says a lot for a guy that is a 7th-round rookie to get that from the starting quarterback to come in when he had to jog halfway across the field to do it. It's a small thing, but I do think that it does matter. And I do think that when you watch what Brashard Smith is going to do on the field, it's going to be those types of things. It's going to be getting him the ball out in space and letting him get to work. And if they do that, which it's kind of funny, and I hate saying it this way because I feel like when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they were going to try to get him the ball in space and let him do his thing. And they never did.
Nope.
But week 1 of training camp and they're already doing a swing pass, and maybe that's part of the drill, but you're seeing things that I think that are going to work perfectly to this guy's advantage. And if they take advantage of that, because he's likely to be on the roster as a returner anyway, it's going to pay dividends for this offense. It gives them one more thing and another guy out of the backfield that teams have to be very ready for.
Yeah. And I think the difference, you highlighted it really well. The difference is he gets to come in and he gets to concentrate on things that he does well. You're setting him up for success, asking him to catch passes. This is a guy that moved from wide receiver to running back. You're not asking him to take the ball 20 times up the middle between the tackles. That's what you have Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt for. So right. I think the clarity that comes from, we're going to let you be you. You just go make some big plays for us with the physical tools that you bring to the table that not everybody else has. I think that helps out.
And it's even more exciting for me because you go back to what his experience is, and it was playing wide receiver. And what is Kansas City known for? What have they done a lot of that they got away from at times last year? Pre-snap motions. And if you are going to start using him in a scenario where he is on the field, you can split him out at wide receiver, even if you have another running back in the backfield. Doesn't matter. You can split him out at wide receiver and use him in that position and take advantage of matchups that you may get with a linebacker that he's going to be able to blow by. I mean, it's great situations and great areas to be able to put him in, and his ability to play wide receiver at the college level. I understand it's, a little bit of a smaller college level, but you're still going to have things that are going to translate from one level to the next. And as long as the team puts him in the right positions and asks him to do the, things that he's capable of doing, I think that he could have a good niche on this roster. Whether or not he is a guy that's going to touch the ball, 15 times a game, which I don't expect, but he could have, all it takes is 2 or 3 big plays.
Yeah, he looks to me right now, even with his explosiveness, maybe a 5-touch guy per game, and that's enough.
Does that include returns? Just to be clear?
It does not. No.
Okay.
I would think third downs in particular. You're talking on average, what, 10 to 16, 18 third downs in a given ball game for this offense, at least the way they've been rolling the last couple of years. If he's in on a third of those, I think he has an opportunity there. You're not going to ask him to pass block. That's for sure. So he's going to be in routes, and I think that's where he's comfortable. And I love your concept because you could even line him up with a fullback in front of him and really show you're going to run power. And we saw Carson Steele split out into some wide receiver stances last year. You can go empty out of that, and you will guarantee yourself to get a linebacker on a kid that can run away from safeties.
Yeah, and I guess the way I was looking at it is he's a running back, so splitting out wide would make a little bit more, a little bit different scenario than normal. But you're right. I mean, you could do whatever you could put him in the backfield, let him do running back things. You could make him a wildcat for all I care.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to have the threat of the pass. That's the other part of that is he doesn't have to have that threat of the pass with his speed. If his vision is good enough, and that's what we've got to find out over the next couple of weeks when he is running the ball, is his vision good enough to be able to do stuff like that? Because that's a little bit different. You're not necessarily in space. You have to have the vision to be able to hit the right hole when you need to be hitting it for those types of plays to work. So it is going to be a question of, does he have the ability? Does he have the vision to do those types of things? But you start looking at I know we're talking about Brashard Smith, but the reality is you're looking at the entire offense. You look at the wide receivers. You've got 4 that I think you have 4 that you feel pretty good about already.
Yeah.
If not more. You talk the tight end room, you have 2 that you really trust. Is there a third or fourth there? Possibly. Then you get to the running back room, and we're talking about a running back playing a wide receiver type role or catching passes out of the backfield. That doesn't even take into account the guys running the ball. This offense should be very, very potent this year and have the ability to do so many different things as long as they stay healthy.
Yeah, it's a key role. And I'll tell you this, probably my favorite play of the day. Nobody loves their receiver more right now than Gardner Minshew loves Juju Smith-Schuster, because Juju made like a through the body catch from a ball from Minshew that looked uncatchable to me and made it look just clean. I think Minshew's reaction was pretty good too. So like the relationships are starting to form. And if Juju is in a space where he's making crazy plays like that, you know that the whole group is on the rise.
Yeah, and you start talking about this offense in general, and the reality is day one of training camp, and you have Josh Simmons as your starter left tackle. And granted, it's not, they don't have pads on. We'll see if things change when Juwan Taylor comes back from his injury. I don't know if they will or they won't, but the fact that they have Simmons over there already tells me that he's probably in line to be the starter, which is huge for this team and huge for this entire season, because the reality is if they hit on that and he can play even a little bit above average at left tackle for them this year and get better as the year goes on, this offense, like I said, is going to have the ability to just do things that they couldn't do last year. And we talked about wide receivers and the hot start that the wideouts are having. One of the reasons that they're able to take some of the deep throws is there's not pass rush. There will still be pass rush during the NFL season this year, obviously, but it's not going to be as big of an issue for Kansas City if Josh Simmons can start and play well. Mm-hmm. And that will give Xavier Worthy a chance to make plays deep. It could give a Tyquan Thornton a chance to make plays deep. It could give even Brashard Smith coming out of the backfield, maybe running a wheel route. I mean, let's not forget, Anthony Sherman caught a long wheel route against the Chargers. I was going to say, things can happen.
If Sherman can do that, Smith can. So
yeah, it's going to be fun. This offense has the ability, as long as the offensive line gets taken care of, and if Simmons is able to start, great. If it's more, that's fine. They got to figure out left guard, obviously, but all this looks like it's starting to fall into place. If they can stay healthy and they can continue going in the direction that they're going, this offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we're just now starting to get more information with training camp.
Yeah. Andy Reid calls it a ramp up. They are certainly on their way to getting up to full steam. We're going to have it all for you like we always do. So make sure you like and sub and hit that bell. This is your team every single day from us. We will have it all for you. Anything breaking, make sure you're on the text line at 816-357-8781. Thanks for your time today. We very much appreciate it. If you are already a subscriber, we thank you that much more. You everydayers. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you tomorrow.